Welcome back. We're in the Canary Islands, anchored off La Graciosa, just north of Lanzarote, after a slow 7-day passage from Spain. Good morning. We stayed in La Graciosa for 2 nights, and I have to say all we did was work and feeling queasy because yeah, it's not the best protected anchorage, I have to say. For some reason, as soon as the wind turns easterly, even though you have the protection of the whole of Lanzarote, it just kicks up a huge chop and swell. We had white horses yesterday. So yeah, we are moving. We don't really fancy another sleepless night here. Today we are going to Lanzarote, which is the island just south of here, and we are aiming for Arrecife, where hopefully there will be space in the anchorage outside the harbour, which should be better protected than here, hopefully. The Canary Islands aren't very good for anchorages, unfortunately. We knew it before we came down. And yeah, it's not gonna be amazing for us because I really need to get a lot of work done before we go offline for a month to cross the Atlantic, and choppy seas are not the best for staring at a laptop and writing and focusing. So hopefully this anchorage will be better, or we might have to bite the bullet and go into a marina just so that I can work, because yeah, we need the money. And also we have quite a few videos to edit because of course we'll have the episodes going live while we cross, so a good 4 or 5 videos to edit, so lots to do. As we leave the already windy anchorage, the swell increases and the wind speed starts rising. The wind keeps building and things get pretty wet on deck, so I have to put the camera down below for the worst of it. What just happened?
Well, we spent all night bitching and whining about the wind and the swell, and then we came up on deck this morning. We were like, oh, let's just move, and it was about 15 knots at the time. So fine, we picked the anchor up, we set off, motoring up this kind of channel thing. And then the wind just like kept building and building and building really quickly, and then it was like 45 knots for maybe the last 20 minutes, would you say?
Yeah,
quite a while. And then we got to the point just north of the channel and the wind dropped to like 15 knots again. So I guess like that little area is in some sort of wind acceleration zone from the mountains behind that we can't see, or maybe the mountains over there, and it's really intensifying the wind. And I don't know what it's like in the anchorage at the moment, but it was really uncomfortable because there was light winds in the anchorage, but there was all this wind blowing all these waves towards you, so we were just kind of sat there just like bouncing around like crazy.
Yeah.
But out here we're just about to get out onto the actual open sea, and there's not even any white caps anywhere. Looks like a really chilled out sailing day out here.
Nice, can't wait to get the sails up.
Yeah.
Yippee! As soon as we are out of the channel, the sea calms down, although we can still see the breakers crashing on the coast.
So it's flat calm, as you can see behind me. If we'd had more time to sort of plan this passage round to this side, then we probably would have waited for a day when there was a decent bit of wind, but there is 3 knots of true wind. So we got the main up to stabilise the boat, but it's not really doing anything. And we want to get to Arrecife really, because we didn't sleep last night with it being choppy, and this is kind of like the perfect antidote to the morning we had where we were motoring out of that bloody 40 knots kind of wind tunnel, which was a bit stressful. It wasn't like the boat was handling it fine really, but like just being battered by that much wind, and it was quite like not like a narrow channel like you get when you're going into a port or something, but like we weren't far from the lee shore, so it's nice to be out here. And now it's like super flat calm, and the good thing about when it's calm is you can see lots of wildlife. So we've seen 2 or 3 turtles, we've seen tuna feeding, and I'm keeping an eye out for a whale. Yeah, other than that I've just been tidying a few things up, thinking about like a to-do list for stuff before we cross the big crossing of the Atlantic. So there's a few jobs and a few bits of like rigging stuff I want to change, just like how things are run. And yeah, other than that, pretty chilled out.
Slightly different atmosphere from this morning, isn't it?
Completely different. Chilled out, sitting in the sun, looking at all the wildlife, really good wildlife, having a nice lunch.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet.
And I managed to finish off my work for the day while we were underway.
So when we get on there, we can jump on the SUP.
Yeah,
Our new
can't
SUP.
wait. It looks really cool, Lanzarote.
I think like if there weren't houses, I think it would look a lot like what I imagine the Galapagos to look like a volcanic island, really rocky, kind of rugged in the middle of the ocean, loads of wildlife around.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever been to the Galapagos, I've got no real idea.
It's just your imagination. It's a good day, it's a good day.
Check there's nothing in my pocket.
Yeah, just checking. Move! It's the only way. So we've just come into Arrecife Harbour, or I don't know exactly the name of this place, but it's basically a harbour without boats in it. So it's used as an anchorage with really good protection. As you can see, it's dead flat, and I'm loving it. But apparently anchors are prone to fouling around here, so Ryan is going to check where we drop the anchor and that it's all good before we decide. There's also some mooring blocks on the seabed, so we might look for one to tie to and have a shorter scope, because the tide is 2.4 meters here. Ryan finds a nice mooring block, so we tie Skua up for the night. So here we are, settled into our free mooring boat in a super protected anchorage, or actually a harbour. And I think we're going to sleep like babies. I can't wait to go to bed. 2 days later, having seen a heavy wind forecast for the week, we decided to move to the marina in Arrecife so we can focus on work and getting Skua ready for the Atlantic crossing. It's just a half-an-hour motor from that harbour to the marina entrance. sailboat up, finger pontoon, which is great. Whip! And yeah, it should be well protected from the wind that's coming, up to 35 knots, which we wouldn't be intimidated by if the anchorages were good, with good holding, but they're really not. There she is. Now, safely moored and nicely showered, we can focus on our long to-do list.
We've decided to replace a couple of these clutch systems that we've been having problems with. These spin lock ones with this plastic side. We cracked two of them before we got to Almerimar and replaced two sides. So this is a new side, and then there's a new side on this other one over here. But the other two have also cracked. So basically 4 of these have cracked in a year. So I don't know whether it's some sort of defect or whether they've just like aged in the sun because they're plastic and then cracked. But this clutch system, sometimes it takes quite a lot of pressure to get it to bite down on the rope. So I think with the UV degraded plastic and then that happening, they're just breaking. So we're swapping them out for these ones, which are a bit weird because they open the opposite direction, so that's going to take some getting used to. But they seem to have a better sort of mechanism for grabbing the rope, rather than this sort of like cam. Can't really show it very well. Like this thing. It has this like a row of metal squares with holes in, which seem to grip the rope really well. So we'll give these a go, and then hopefully they'll last longer. We don't really know how long these have lasted. It might be that they're like 15 or 17 years old and that's why they're like dying, but if these ones last that long then we'll be happy.
On the way down to the Canary Islands, we noticed that the staysail furling line is tattered, so we decide to replace it with a new one. We also screw the floorboards down so they don't come off in extreme conditions. In our next video, we'll cover how we prepared Skua for the crossing in detail. So we've been in Lanzarote for 2 weeks and we've literally spent all the time just doing boat work, editing videos, just getting ready to go. So we haven't seen any of the island, and for that reason we have found this cheap hire car so that we have it for 2 days. We can go check out the island and also do a massive provisioning kind of trip. So there she is, red Opel Corsa, cheap and cheerful, and we're gonna go on a road trip.
What do you think of Lanzarote?
Looks really cool. It's kind of very dusty, and there's lots of hills. Yeah, lots of dormant volcanoes. I'm really excited to see the top of one. All the houses are kind of white, all the buildings, and there's not much vegetation other than the, you know, planted one.
Yeah, it's not very lush, is it? It's the opposite of lush.
Yes, yeah. And then you've got these few places where they have planted really nice trees and plants. That's really cool. Lanzarote is a volcanic island with warm weather year-round. It's the closest Canary island to Africa, lying only 78 miles off the coast of Morocco.
From up here we can see where we kind of sailed into the Canaries. So we kind of sailed down from that way, past that island in the background, then past this island, down around the bottom of La Graciosa, and then you can see the anchorage where we were in. There's actually a boat in it, but I doubt the camera will pick it up.
Yeah. Such a cool spot. It looks even cooler from up here.
Yeah, it's really nice. And the water's actually pretty nice as well. It's kind of like bluish.
La Graciosa lies just 1 mile north of Lanzarote, across the strait over the Rio. On shore, there are no tarmac roads. The island is located within the confines of the marine reserve Archipelago Chinijo, the largest marine reserve in Europe. Later, we go to town and stop for a drink and a bite to eat. Next on the to-do list is provisioning. We stock up on tortilla wraps, milk, tinned fish and vegetables, cheese, smoked salmon, coffee, pasta and pasta sauces, rice, peanut butter, cereal, salmon and tuna pate, cooking oil, various sauces, and lots of fresh fruit and vegetables. Good morning. After over 2 weeks of being on Lanzarote, we are finally ready. Sorry, I usually film a lot, but I was so busy with work, actual paid work, that I literally didn't have time to film much. So we hope that what you've seen of Lanzarote is enough. And today we are finally getting out of the marina. There's no wind, so it's perfect. And we're just going around the corner into the anchorage, I think. Get the boat ready with everything stowed away. Chill out. Finally chill out for a whole day or afternoon. And then tomorrow morning we're gonna set off, and we are really excited.
Neon lights will be glowing every night in the city, always the same.
Leaving the marina is incredibly exciting. We have just one more day of preparations, and then we are off across the Atlantic Ocean, our first ever ocean crossing. We've just come out of this marina, and now we're just gonna go into the old harbour where we were anchored a few days ago, pick up a mooring block here and wait out the low wind tonight, and then tomorrow there should be good wind to start our crossing.
Something
Line is here, ready to go. Got splashed. Up it comes. Nice. I'm gonna try to take it to the bow, but if not, I can always tie it off midship.
Yeah.
And then once we got the anchor up, we can fix it up. Yeah. I should just about. Okay. Once we're safely moored, we can get Skua and her crew ready for their biggest adventure yet.
Getting my fur clipped before we set off across the Atlantic. I find it really annoying having long hair, so it's really nice to have it nice and short.
These videos are made possible by our amazing patrons. Without their support, we'd have to quit YouTube to dedicate more time to our freelance work. If you'd like to help keep these videos coming, you can join our Patreon crew and get access to exclusive videos, as well as our Patreon-only Facebook group. Hi guys, just a really quick message from me in real time. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Robin and Samantha, our new $20 patrons who have just joined us. Thank you so much for your generous pledge, and we hope you'll enjoy our episodes, especially the ones of the Atlantic crossing and the Caribbean. See you all next week.